Hi, everyone. Welcome. Everybody, can you hear me okay? Yes? All right. So thank you for introducing yourself. I'm going to go through a couple things. I'm going to share the agenda right now with you. If you have questions, feel free to raise your hand on Zoom. If you don't know how to do it, you can always write in the chat or just unmute yourself and talk. It's fine. But there's a Q&A portion at the very end of the presentation, so you can wait until then as well. Let me share my screen so you can see the agenda. Okay. So this is what we're going to go over today. I'm going to go over a PowerPoint that shows you the different sites that we have for interim housing. We'll go over communication and collaboration and what that looks like in interim housing. And we'll go over housing goals and other goals that are very important, and programmatic initiatives, customer service mindset, and then we'll end with Q&A. All right, so let's start with a PowerPoint just so you have an overview. This is really meant to be a very broad overview of, it gets really complicated and very detailed. This is just a welcome. So, so if you're very eager to know a lot more, just feel free to jot down your questions and then I can answer them later. Let me go to the PowerPoint. All right. So this is Arlington. I don't know if any of you had a chance to go to Arlington yet. It's right off the 10. It's a beautiful building. Inside is as beautiful. This is pretty much our headquarters. A lot of the admin positions are based off over there at Arlington. Interim housing, we're now in 3 separate geographical areas. Basically, we call it the east side, which we'll go over the map soon, and then the west side, and then now Lancaster and Kensington. Each of the sites are funded by a variety of different funders. It could be from the city of Santa Monica, LASA, DHS, DMH. So there's a lot of different programs with different requirements in terms of eligibility and reporting, but the overall idea of how we serve the client and what the goal is the same. Obviously, we're open 24/7 because we're interim housing. So this is our map now. Let's see. So here, 3 in them in Santa Monica, which is the ones that I help oversee with our team. We have 2 here in downtown LA. One of them is a bridge home, which we'll go over. And we have a Recoup Care in Compton. And now you guys, we're very excited about this. Long time planning. So I'm going to go over some of our sites. So Cloverfield is one of our 3 Santa Monica sites. It's a beautiful building. At night, it's even more beautiful. So we have 55 beds. All of upstairs is all female only. And downstairs is co-ed. We're funded by LASA in the city of Santa Monica. And what's interesting about this particular site is that it's also, it has an in-reach component. So sort of like a day drop-in time, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, where people who are still street-based, they can come in during the day and take part in groups and classes, do laundry, eat, connect with their case managers and their peers, things like that. If I go too fast, tell me to slow down. This is Turning Point, just a mile away in a residential area. It's very quiet. A lot of people don't even know that we're there. Same 55 beds. This is an example of what it looks like. Kensington will look very similar to this inside the cubicle. So it's semi-private, you know, the walls are high enough that it provides a certain level of privacy, but we still have an opening here. We have a portion of Turning Point that is funded by the local hospital. So they refer clients who are experiencing homelessness, they refer them to us when they have nowhere else to go, and then we prepare them for housing. Another interesting component for Turning Point is that even though it's interim housing, it also works with an outreach team that works in Malibu Palisades area. So there's a whole team that's dispatched over there, and then but they work out of Turning Point. That's their home base. And the third site in Santa Monica, this is San Michelle. It's connected to the Access Center. Some of you might have or will be doing tours or maybe even shadowings for some of the shifts. So San Michelle is one of those. It's a tent. It's a Cirque du Soleil tent. From what I hear, it's the same people who make the Cirque du Soleil tents. It's very sturdy. It's been there for like 26 years, I think. So it's connected right to the Access Center, right off the 10 by the beach, just 4 blocks away from the beach. It's a 70-bed, funded mostly by the city of Santa Monica, a little bit of funding from the hospital, the local hospital, and then IHP. At Kensington, you will also have LASA funding and IHP as well, very similar programs. All right. So this is the village. It has 98 clients, so this is our biggest site in terms of client beds. It has a lot of different funding, like DHS and HOPWA and IHP, and it is very interesting site, not only because it's on Skid Row, but also because it has a whole, that's where money management and the art program and the music studio is located. They actually have a soundproof space where clients can come in and play instruments, even record. And their art center is beautiful. It's very well decorated. Clients can come in and basically do art. It's very therapeutic. And so money management headquarters is also over there. So they have a team that works out of the village and another team that comes to Cloverfield so that they can serve the clients on the west side as well. So we try to collaborate and merge our programs as much as we can so that we can offer the same level of services throughout, no matter where people are. This is Solar in Compton, so it's pretty far south. It has 38 beds. It's our smaller campus or interim housing, but because it needs, it's higher level of care, that's why they have nurses all the time. So it's a lot of clients that get referred directly from DHS, the Department of Health Services. They come from hospitals usually to recover from surgeries or severe medical conditions. So they tend to stay there a little longer because they have to recover, but the ultimate goal is still housing. This is El Puente, very different setup. So you'll notice that all the different housing look a little bit different. The interim housing, you know, we have the tent and we have a building, we have 2 stories, 1 stories. This used to be a parking lot. They did an awesome job at turning it into an interim housing with this beautiful wooden deck. So they made it flat so people can actually, you know, walk on it. So it doesn't look like a parking lot. And then we have trailers. So each trailer has 15 people. You can see here an example of what it looks like inside. There's still some degree of privacy because of the dividers. It's a very close-knit community because it's 45 clients. And it's right in the heart of downtown, across from the Union Station. This was the first, how's it called? Bridge project. I can't think of the word, but it was the pilot program basically from the ABH initiative. It was a very important program for us, and it was a success. It's been going on for about 2 years now. And you guys, well, this is permanent supportive housing. So this is the piece of Kensington that opened first. Same, it was a success. I mean, it's beautiful. I don't know if any of you guys had a chance to go and check it out yet, but it's a really beautiful site. So more permanent supportive housing units are going to open up in the future. But what's coming up next is us, interim housing. This picture was taken a while back, but basically this is one site. So it's going to be 3 separate. So you see them 1, 2, 3. So each of them building 1, 2, and 3, basically. So all of you guys, I don't know if you're going to be working on the same building or scattered, you know, throughout the buildings, but I know that you're going to be working all together a lot, because you may be allocated to building 1, but very often you'll be asked to go and help out in building 2, etc., like vice versa. We all pretty much help each other cover whenever we need to. So each building has 52 beds, so 52 clients. And then there's a case manager's office and the client attendant office in there as well. That's it. That was Interim Housing. This is what we look like. So 9 sites, 3 of them here in Kensington. All right. Normally I would pause and ask questions, but maybe I'll wait until the end because we're recording. So, but if you have a burning questions, obviously just let me know. Let's see. So next on the agenda, let me check real quick. Oh yeah, communication and collaboration. All right, let me actually stop the share right now so we can chat. I don't have a PowerPoint for that. It's mostly meant to be a conversation. So if you want to mute yourself and talk and chat and ask questions, now is the time, because, you know, topic is communication. So it makes sense that it's communication. If we don't communicate, there's no collaboration, whether it's amongst the team, amongst yourself, or with the clients, or with the other programs. So it's very important to work together. And communication in interim housing comes in different forms, and all of them are very important. The baseline is, I'm gonna get into a little bit of details right now, maybe it's too much details, but it's the shift huddle, the shift exchange huddles that happen 3 times a day, because there's 3 shifts. So every time a shift leaves and a shift comes in, there's a 30-minute overlap. And the reason why there's a 30-minute overlap is because it gives a chance to the 2 shifts to meet and talk about what happened during the past shift, so that the incoming shift can be aware of what to pay attention to in their upcoming shift. So let's say overnight is about to leave, it's 7 in the morning, and then the day shift comes in at 7 in the morning. So there's a half an hour overlap where they can chat about, hey, be careful. John really had a really bad night. He's still going through whatever he's going through. And then so-and-so in those 2 cubicles are still really upset at one another. You know, they were fine last night, but, you know, they might get into another argument today, just heads up. So it's really talking about what's been going on in the facility, so that the shift that comes in can really keep an eye on what's been going on for a variety of reasons, you know, but mostly it's client care, basically. Or maybe it's something that's pending. Some client is waiting for something, and then we want to make sure that that gets communicated to the next shift, so that no balls get dropped. A lot of the balls that get dropped is because people did not communicate. It happens, we're human, but it's our duty to make sure that that does not happen, you know. So one is the huddle. So during the huddle, you guys all get together and you talk about what's happening. Somebody takes notes in the logbook, and the logbook is also where the client attendants write what's going on, so that we keep track of basically important information that needs to be communicated, you know, to the next shift. Because maybe the shifts that come in the next day or that night, they might not be part of the huddle, but they still need to be aware of what's been happening. So it's very important to still write down in the log what's been happening. So that's like level 1 communication. How do the client attendants, the case managers, and all of that, how everybody communicates. It's very important to always go back to the logbook and take a look at it. Then there's way more communication that happens. We don't have any case managers right now on the today, like right now, but the case managers are also expected to communicate extensively with the client attendants. So you'll be working very closely with the case managers also, for a variety of reasons. But the key reason is that you guys, the client attendants, are going to be spending way more time with the clients than the case managers or the program managers do. From my experience, the client attendants know a lot about the clients that the case managers might not know. And the reason is because the overnight client attendants are there at 3 in the morning when the clients aren't sleeping or where they're anxious, and they'll go and talk to you. You know, they'll do that at 2 or 3 in the morning, but they won't do that with their case managers on a Tuesday at 2 in the afternoon, you know? And also because you guys are on the floor with the clients 8 hours a day, versus the case managers might see them once or twice a week only because they're focused on specifically housing goals and other goals, right? So client attendants are really key to the client's journey through interim housing, because there's so much connection, so much interactions between you guys and the clients. So don't underestimate how important you are as a piece of this puzzle, because it's part of the puzzle. We need that. And all that information that you get about the clients, that needs to be communicated to the case managers and the program managers. Especially when it comes to crisis, you know, maybe somebody hasn't been sleeping for like a week now and you notice that and it's not normal. That's an important information that the case managers need to know about, because we're not here at night. We're not going to know that so-and-so hasn't been sleeping, but we only see maybe some manic behaviors during the day, but without that key information about they're not sleeping either. See, so all of this comes together, and if one person was there all the time, we could put 2 and 2 together and come up with a plan, but we can't do it on our own. So everybody needs to communicate what they observe. It all makes sense? Yeah? Okay, great. Case managers will also be, Carrie, you raised your hand? No? I don't know.
I put something in the chat.
Oh, yes. Great question, Carrie. So, Lillian, there's going to be a lot of communication with you too. So the way it works between interim housing and facility staff. So there's actually daily interactions, because facility staff actually interact with the clients a lot too. I spent a lot of time at one of our sites at Cloverfield, and we're all very close with the facility staff over there because they're able to come to us when they observe things as well. And it can be facilities related, obviously, you know. For example, I know that it's a lot of communication about, hey, that person in cubicle 3, you know, tends to maybe leave a mess in the bathroom every time, or things like that. That's something that would need to be communicated to us so that we can address it to the client too. Because it's not just a mess, it's affecting the community, but it's also a way we can address life skills with clients, you know. And also, my understanding is that clients always pay attention to where the case managers, program managers, or the clients' attendants are, because they see us as like the people that they always communicate with. So the facilities crew actually get to have a lot of information by just walking by. So I've had the privilege to really be involved in a lot of information that I would have otherwise not known had the facility staff not been around. So yeah, the more we report to one another, but it's not like, hey, you know what happened? Like, this is not the case. This is not what we want. We don't want, you know, it has to be relevant to client care, obviously. Food services, we work very closely with food services as well for a variety of reasons. It's, you know, as you know, for our population, food is really important, and it's also because it's social. There's a sense of community, you know. So the food services tend to, they're always happy, really. I think it's because they like to feed people too. So the cafeteria has a very different culture in a way. I keep thinking of adding details, but I keep reminding myself it's just an introduction. So I won't go into reasonable accommodations and all that, but just ignore me. All right, communication. So yeah, case managers, we don't have any on this call, but the case managers are also expected to obviously communicate with you guys so that you guys, the client attendants, are in the loop about what's going on with the clients. Let's say you're a staff that works during the weekend. You're not gonna know what happened from Monday through Friday. So the case managers and the program managers will email updates and meeting summaries every time there's case conferencing, so that all the client attendants are in the loop about what's going on with each client. So that if somebody, behaves a certain way on a Saturday, you'll know why. Is because from Monday through Thursday, the day staff were working on something that may be very uncomfortable for the client, and then they may be reacting from it on the weekend. So again, it's really important for the day staff to communicate with swing and overnight and the weekend staff, so that everybody's in the loop of what was going on. So it's not just a behavior that happens out of, like, with no context. The idea of communication and collaboration is that everybody always knows what's going on with everyone, so that there's context as to what's going on. And if you know what's going on with the clients, then you have a better, you have more tools to address and de-escalate when you need to de-escalate, because you'll be in the loop you know, in terms of what's going on with the client. Yeah. Yeah. I can get into more details too, because we have a lot of meetings to talk about communication and collaboration, but maybe that's not the place. Yeah. Let's see. Let's move on to our next one. Any questions about communication? No. Okay. Feel free to jump in anytime. Yeah? Liane, you had a question?
No.
Okay.
No, it's okay. Thank you.
Right. Let me move on to the next then. I believe it is the program initiatives. This pretty much goes hand in hand, well, to some degree, with what we just talked about in terms of communication and collaboration. These are the agency-wide initiatives. As you see here, is basically service delivery to the clients and service delivery to staff. This is the way we put in practice the mission and the vision that we have, okay? So what does it look like on the ground if you're an overnight client attendant? What does the mission of the people concerned look like for you at 3 in the morning? And this is pretty much the answer. There's, man, I don't know if I want to get into details about the monthly tool and all that, but we tried to be very transparent about what we're doing as an agency, so that everybody can be very clear about their role and understand the importance of their role. And sometimes maybe somebody thinks, why do I keep picking up, you know, plates after the clients? Because the clients won't pick up the plates. You know, it's true. It can be frustrating, you know. And there's a conversation to be had with clients about picking up behind themselves. And, you know, this is, what is it going to look like in your apartment? You know, you're going to want to pick up after yourself in your apartment, etc. But for us, besides the conversation with the clients, we pick up after the clients when they leave stuff behind and we don't know who left it there, because we want to foster a safe, healthy, and healing community. You know, so I'm not going to go into details one by one right now, but this is on SharePoint, which I'm going to show you in a minute. I really encourage you to take a look at it. I have it glued on my binder. Because it's important once in a while to sort of reframe our day-to-day tasks within this initiative, because then you're reminded about why you're doing what, like, yeah, why are you here? What are you doing what you're doing? Yeah? Okay. I feel like I'm rambling, so. I'm going to show you where to find this on SharePoint. SharePoint is very important. You're going to be spending a lot of time on SharePoint. Here we go. If you have your people concerned email address, which you have because I emailed you, then you have access to SharePoint. You can just log in. And this is our home page. Everything on SharePoint is important, but the home page and the interim housing page, which I'm going to show you in a minute, is probably more relevant in your cases. Notice here, kudos. Everybody loves kudos. I would encourage you to get on the kudos page and then write kudos. It literally just takes 20 seconds, you know. This is where you write, thank you, food services, for, you know, this, or, you know, thank you, you know, facilities crew for this, or a specific person, you know, Alec, thank you for being such a team player, or, you know, I mean, it's, you can personalize you can personalize it or you can make it about the team. We love kudos at the agency. So once you're on this page, you're gonna go here under department and program, and then that's gonna pop up automatically. You go down to interim housing. All the other programs are here. You can just hop around and get familiar with everything. Everything is relevant, really. So in interim housing page, this is us. You're going to find any form that you'll need to be able to function. Some of the forms are specifically for case managers, so it might not be relevant to you directly. Although honestly, I would still encourage you to take a look at the case management documents, just because you'll understand why sometimes the case managers will need certain things from the client, and you can help in that. A lot of the clients develop a very strong relationships with the client attendants, because again, you guys spend a lot of the time with the clients. So very often the client attendants are able to sort of, you know, convince or strongly encourage the clients to share certain information or documents with the case managers. So it's always good to understand what are the expectations on the case managers so that you can work with them better. Some of the forms that are going to be very important to you are, well, there's a few policies. So any form with a hammer is basically a policy or a protocol. The psychiatric emergency policy is very important. Anything that has to do with the facility is very important. Again, I'm not gonna go into details right now because there's a lot to go over depending if you're a client attendant or a case manager. We'll go over all of that when we go, when we train basically for specific roles. But I wanted to make sure that you knew where to find that information. Yeah, so you'll remember SharePoint, department, interim housing. Okay. It's not that many forms, so don't be scared. And then our important one, positive feedback form. So we have a lot of ways also in terms of communication for the clients to communicate with us. And that's in our guidelines and responsibilities, which is right here. Basically the house rules, but we try to stay away from those words like rules, which may be, I don't want to say triggering, but a lot of people, they hear the word rule and they're like, I'm going to fight it, because, you know, we're all kind of defiant to some level. So guidelines and responsibilities we felt was a more, you know, kind way of saying, hey, you know, these are the expectations, and it goes both ways. But in the guidelines and responsibilities, it basically goes over the ways the clients can be communicating to us when they need something. So they can, there's a reasonable accommodation form, the communication form, grievance form, and suggestion box. So again, we really encourage the clients to communicate to us, and they will communicate with us if we communicate with them. So transparency, again, is really important. All right, this was SharePoint. Are you guys gonna remember how to get to our page, yeah? Okay. Am I going too fast? You're good? You're following? Okay. One thing, let me look at the agenda real quick. Where's the agenda? Okay. Yes, goals, that's right. Okay. Where to start? So obviously the main goal is to house clients, because that's what our funders want to see. We have to create reports depending on the funder, could be every month, every year, twice a year, but they want to see how many clients have we housed and how many clients have increased or maintained their income. These are usually the targets that no matter who funds you, this is what they want to see. We all do our best to house clients. Sometimes it can happen within 3 months, depending on where the client is on their journey. It may take 3 years, you know, if the client is severely symptomatic and has no documentation, then they're going to be on a very different trajectory, and it may take a couple of years. So even though the end goal is housing and stabilization overall, it's really important, especially in our field, because it can be so tiring sometimes and emotionally draining. It's important to celebrate the small wins. So yes, our founders want to know how many people we've housed, which we do, but it's also important to see maybe so and so has been sober for 2 weeks and he hasn't done that in 20 years. That's a win, you know. Or so and so finally changed their bed sheets and it's been 6 months and their, you know, clients around their cubicle are really happy about that. That's a win. So you're gonna see a lot of small wins here and there that are also very important to celebrate. And sometimes it comes from the clients, things that we might not notice, but it's their own story. They know what's a win to them. That's important to celebrate too. So even though we're all working together towards housing, income, overall stabilization, independence, also self-sufficiency is very important, because it's one thing to get a client's house, it's another for them to feel self-sufficient, to remain housed. And we're part of that piece as well. So it's not just working towards that goal. Celebrating those small wins through that journey towards housing is also about making the client self-confident that they can do this, and encouraging them to learn a new skill or a new tool that they can apply once they live on their own. It all just comes together. Yeah, so celebrate the small wins. That's all I had about interim housing. It's kind of hard to figure out, is it too broad, is it too, you know, detailed? Sometimes it's case managers, client attendants, some people have a lot of experience, some people don't. So but that's why I can answer questions now. You can unmute yourself. No one has questions?
I had a quick question.
Yeah.
Will interim housing be housing any families, or will it be single individuals?
Single individuals, male and female. So we have 3 buildings total, 52 clients in each. One building would be female only and 2 others would be male only.
Mm.
So we're on one part of the campus. It's a 14-acre campus. So we're in one part of the campus, and the other part has permanent supportive housing. So different, we call them villas, and in there are clients that already signed the lease and they're permanently housed in it. And they work with a different team, basically working under the housing department. Have you guys seen the campus yet? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Are there some clients already there?
Not yet. We're opening. They keep moving the day, so I can't commit to any date right now. Mm-hmm. But soon, in a couple.
Because I was over there this morning, mm-hmm. and I saw a few people over there that may look like they've been living there.
Yeah, in the villas, in the permanent supportive housing side. Yeah, right. But for interim housing, no one's moved in yet. So we're in the process of, we're in the process of starting the intakes in the coming few days.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3 on the So are we going to be shadowing meanwhile they open?
Yeah, if you want to, we definitely can. I think work with Milerna and Richard, because they oversee the sort of training schedule for the upcoming weeks, so that we can figure out, number one, what kind of training people need. And they have a whole schedule planned out for that, but also on days that are more free, then we invite you guys to come and shadow at our sites. I know that Cloverfield, San Michel, and Turning Point, and I believe El Puente as well, have been inviting some of the client attendants and case managers that have been hired in the past few weeks to come over and do a shift. I know we're far, but we have a system for that. So yeah, you guys are always welcome. It's very helpful too, especially if you get to shelter hop, do shadowing on one site, and then maybe a couple of days later shadow at a different site. It's always very important. We really try to standardize everything. I mean, we all follow the same policies and protocols and everything, but you find that there's a different culture, there's a different feel to each site. So it's really interesting to shelter hop.
All right, I'm going to conclude this recording now. Thank you, Isabelle.